So we believe in building relationships to make sure that our issues make it through to a platform and so that they can actually be addressed. And my community, that would be very hard for me to make a statement because we rely so much on federal funding and state funding for, health and our ICMO cases, and we have a 3% unemployment rate, so like it's kind of like that's not the reality that we live in, and unfortunately we're 21st century natives, so a lot of us are still trying to figure out infrastructure for connectivity to basic things like the internet, and trying to get library books for our local library. Like, so it sounds good though. I like it, but I don't know if that's something that I could truly believe in. I would say, since we're all friends here, I was really excited about being able to cast a vote for a black woman until I started to read some of the policies that started sounding a lot more Republican. It was hard for me to want to co-sign to that. Yeah, so in terms of Indie Collective, I love what they do, and I think it is radical to hear that. And I just don't know if that would be fitting for my community and my reservation, especially because of how dependent we are on like housing and and all of the things that we heavily rely on federal funding and state funding in order for us to even have direct services.
So a little too radical for Michelle and April. What about for you, Elvita? What are your thoughts on this idea, this radical idea of picking a candidate you can justify with?
This year was tough. Personally, at the beginning, I was like, who am I going to support? What's impacting our community? And again, it's like goes back to like high cost of groceries, high cost of gas, those things that really hurt our community. So that all happened in this last the last 4 years. And then here we are, we're gonna, pretty much support the same thing. And I always just say that this whole system of choosing a person to run for president is not right. It's not good. Why can't we ever have the best people running for either party? Because we don't. Out of all of the educated and smart leaders out there in the country, why can't we have the best? One side you have a felon running and win. The other side you have a person that, yeah, they did okay for Indian country. We did good on the Democratic side for Indian country. But again, there were still a lot of issues that impacted our communities, like the high cost of groceries and gas and things that really hit people in the pocketbook. And people just could not see that changing. Just like April, I'm a Democrat. I did no matter what. I always have and probably always will. But why can't we fix a system that I think is not good? Sometimes we set systems up that we don't want to change. It's like we're gonna, you know what? When you're messed up, you just keep staying there, just like in a bad relationship, right? Why don't you get out of it and make it better? I just think everybody should work together somehow, and that's right. One of the reasons I voted for our Senator Rose, she really works both sides of the aisle. She got our tribe $1.6 million water tank. I gotta look and see how are people supporting us, over the years, and that's kind of what I look at. And I hate to say this was a hard choice this year for a presidential candidate where I had no problem voting for Obama, where I saw that leadership.
So less about the colors and politics, more about practicality and about how they're working with Indigenous nations in particular.
Yes, yes. It didn't really matter. I would always want to go with the best candidate.
Well, Donald Trump is not the best candidate though.
No, there was no best.
She ran a flawless campaign. I don't know. Like I think there's more to unpack there because I think in our communities and Native communities, then the party pounced on Biden. Like that wouldn't happen in Native communities, right? In terms of like using his age as a reason to say that he is unfit. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in Native communities because we love and respect our elders. And so the failure to address the genocide that is happening in Gaza completely, had a lot to do with the lack of voter turnout. And maybe that's why I felt the way I felt. But there's no doubt in my mind that like she was the perfect candidate for me. It's just there were some policy parts of this election that I just could not co-sign to.
You're listening to Unreserved on CBC Radio 1, Sirius XM, U.S. Public Radio, and Native Voice 1. I'm Rosanna Deerchild. Today, our panel is unpacking the power of the Indigenous vote.
Under this administration, you will never be abandoned. I will always stand proudly with our incredible Native American communities. Over.
That's President Donald Trump speaking at a rally in North Carolina back in the 2020 election. During this election, though, rallying cries from either candidate around Indigenous or tribal issues were non-existent. And according to our panel today, it's no surprise. Elvita Martinez, Michelle Stark, and April Ignacio say that more Indigenous issues need to be on the ballot so that Indigenous voters can see themselves in a system that often does not see them.
Put forward a vision for Indian country grounded in respecting tribal sovereignty.
How would you describe the amount of engagement from any politicians in your community this election?
Well, we had in Alaska, our first Alaska Native elected to federal office running to retain her seat. And Mary Peltola is Yupik from Western Alaska. And of course, she was everywhere, almost everywhere, all at once for all of Alaska communities, but definitely relatable to the Native communities. And it was a very tough race, and it was with someone she went up against 2 years ago and twice. And he comes from a legacy family. So for Alaska, we've got a lot of attention from the congressional races, but everything else was more local. There was a time where our federal delegation was always traveling to rural areas. That was a normal practice. And those were the days before really the culture wars started taking root in the legislative branches of government. And, Ted Stevens, who was a senator for all his adult life for Alaska, said, to hell with politics, do what's right for Alaska. And that's kind of the standard that Alaska Natives want in lawmaking. And Alaskans are nonpartisan or undeclared at a rate of over 60% as it is. And Alaskans vote across party lines at least by 2022 at a rate of 49.9%. But Alaska Native communities, we vote at a crossover rate, not down party lines, but a crossover rate across party candidates at a rate of 79.9%.
Wow.
So we care about the quality of the candidate or maybe the platform that these candidates offer over party. We want the state of the state. We want the state's business done. And it's not always done that way, at least in the 21st century. It's a very different approach to politics.
Alvina, what about for you? What is the amount of engagement from politicians in your communities?
Pretty much been zero on this campaign. And that's the first. We always got somebody from the different parties at least stop by, at least meet with our tribal chairman or come by and just say hello, bye, leave some t-shirts, some of their information. So this is the first that we haven't received reservations in colonies in Nevada. The candidates did go to like Reno and Vegas, and then some of the tribal people attended their events close by, that the tribes that were close. But in rural Nevada, they didn't bother coming to rural Nevada at all.
And April, what about for you?
Well, we hosted quite a bit of candidates, and it was just our grassroots group reaching out to candidates to get them here. We had a couple of them who actually didn't realize how far we lived and decided halfway through that it was a little too far for them to travel. And so um, that's pretty standard and pretty normal because of where we live and how far we live from the mega metropolis of Phoenix. We're about 3 hours south, just right along the Arizona Mexico border. So we do as much as we can to make sure that our how much of them have access to these candidates and our last candidate, we had about 60 candidates from the state level all the way down to local school board races. This is something that we've just been sort of building year after year after year, and I think that our state legislators understand understand that.
Thank you for that. Um, I really want to swing back to this idea that you had talked a little bit about in early about the love that we're trying to bring our community together and the support that we're trying to create among among our nations, whether they're in Alaska or whether they're in Nevada or whether wherever they are. You know, a lot of people are feeling really uncertain and maybe even afraid about the next 4 years. What do you say to people who might be in that place of fear and uncertainty?
I think for Alaska, we're so largely forgotten. We are barely existing on anyone's radar. What's going to affect us is the cost of energy rates because we have to import diesel to run our power plants. We're vulnerable to barges freezing up or having to air freight it out at such greater expense. Life out in Western Alaska or in Arctic Alaska is just not relatable to most Americans. And what we care about is more. Sir, we have to engage and we have to participate. We have to be engaged in every step of decision processes, and that includes boards and commissions, that involves local governments, regional governments, statewide and federal governments. We need to step up and we need to be offering ourselves as public servants so that we're as equal at the table as any other stakeholder. So there is hope. We are getting louder about the lack of fish in our two major rivers in North America. And we're getting good at becoming testifiers. We come in and we prepare testimony and we share from our heart and we share from our stomach and we share from our soul. So we are slowly becoming more active in a lot of different policy ways. We just got to get that to start translating to votes.
Thank you for that, Michelle. April, what about for you? What do you tell people who are feeling uncertain and afraid for the next 4 years?
I get it. That's what I tell them. Like, I get it. I get it. I mean, the Indivisible Tunnel was created, out of fear. It was fear for our community when Trump was elected. His platform was specific to the border wall, promises he made to his border wall because of where we live geographically. We were going to be impacted by that. And so, because we have tribal members who live south of the border and north of the border, it feels almost like full circle. We know what to expect. We know that we will be targeted. It doesn't help that the United States Congress and Senate was also kind of flipped. I had a friend yesterday who was teasing me about, you're a fighter, and when they're getting ready to deport you, I'll speak up, and I was thinking like, yeah, too soon, dude, too soon,
Too soon.
and I think about how many people's lives are going to be impacted. So I'm nervous. I am nervous myself, but I also think about all of the really
good work that me and my team have been doing for the last, 8 years, and we're positioning ourselves to have access to these leaders who make decisions on our behalf, and we created and cultivated these relationships, and relationships are maintained through reciprocity, not obligation. And so I think that's one thing that I continue to tell our community. We need to continue to stay engaged. We need to continue to vote. We need to continue to learn how to talk to the people who represent us, so that they can see us more than just a number or a voter, right? That we're people whose lives that matter. We deserve good things too. And so we can fight for those things. And most times it's gonna feel like no one is listening, but we have to continue to do that because we love our community and because we're thinking about the future.
And Elvita, final thoughts for you.
I would just say that I want always want our people to vote and be a participant. That helps us to become at the table. But I'm always telling our young people, get educated, learn to be a good leader and a good speaker. Because when we have educated people sitting at those tables, we're on an equal playing field. And I've seen it firsthand. And we are resilient people. We fought 32 years for water rights case. I said, that's because I always told them, we're going to outlive you guys. We're going to just still be here, still fighting for what's good and what's right. For whatever issue you're fighting for, us Native people, we've been here for so damn long. Where are we going? We're not going anywhere. So we just got to keep at it, become more involved, educate the young folks, get them there to the table to learn to speak good eloquently and speak strong.
Well, thank you all so much for your time today and your thoughts. It was an amazing conversation, and I'm so glad you were able to join me.
Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.
April Ignacio is a co-founding member of Indivisible Fauna, which works on issues that affect the Fauna-Autham Nation within the state of Arizona. Michelle Spark is the Director of Strategic Initiatives for Get Out the Native Vote in Alaska. Elvita Martinez is a voters' rights activist and the Water Resources Coordinator at the Walker River Paiute Tribe in Nevada. That's all our time on Radio Indigenous. This episode was produced by Kim Casher, Bridget Stringer Holden, Brianna Johnson, and Elena Hutchins Live. You can listen to us streaming live on the CBC News app. Just go to local tab and press play wherever you go. You can also find and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your favorite cousin, presented your child, coming at you from Winnipeg, Treaty 1 territory. That's it now. Thanks.
This is CBC Radio 1, 88.5 FM in Montreal. Christine Heron was 15 years old in the spring of 1993 when she disappeared, and in over 30 years there has been no trace of her.
I didn't know before the night was over she was dead, though.
A story of murder and heartbreak and investigative error.
He was 90% sure he was going to be convicted.
From CBC Podcasts, I'm David Ridgen, and this is Someone Knows Something, Season 9, The Christine Heron Case. Available now on the CBC Listen app and everywhere you get your podcasts. You can start calling checkup right now.
This is not what we wanted, but we had no choice left.
A postal strike just before the holiday season. What impact is the Canada Post strike having on you? What should be done about it? You can start calling checkup now.
From CBC News, the world is out. I'm Neil Kumar. There are reports out of the U.S. that outgoing President Joe Biden has given Ukraine permission to use long-range American missiles to hit targets deep inside Russia. That is a line that Washington has been reluctant to take for fear of expanding the conflict. The shift comes weeks after Donald Trump's presidential victory. He has been critical President Volodymyr Zelensky says over 200 missiles and drones were fired at Ukraine's energy infrastructure. About 140 projectiles were shot down over Kyiv alone. But some hit their targets. At least 7 people, including some children, were killed. Several power facilities were damaged, and thousands are now without electricity. Hezbollah's main relations chief has reportedly been killed in an Israeli airstrike. According to media reports, Mohammed Afif died in the attack. He destroyed an entire apartment building in Beirut. Dominic Feliz reports.
Today's strike on Beirut hit the Ras Al Nabar neighborhood, an area where many people displaced from the southern suburbs by Israeli bombardment have sought refuge. According to media reports, the missile slammed into the offices of the Ba'ath Party. Hezbollah's media chief, Mohammed Afif, was reportedly inside at the time and was killed. Afif recently told reporters Israeli troops have been unable to hold any territory in Lebanon, and that Hezbollah had enough weapons and supplies to fight a long war. Afif was a long-time media advisor to Hezbollah's Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah, who was killed in an Israeli strike on Beirut's southern suburbs last month. The Israeli military has today's strike, but it rarely hits senior Hezbollah personnel who do not have clear military roles. Dominic Feliz from CBC News, Riga, Latvia.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is in Brazil for a meeting of the G20. Leaders from a mix of developed and developing countries are trying to find common ground on issues ranging from hunger to setting rules of cryptocurrencies. And it comes less than 2 months ahead of Donald Trump's return to the White House. Canada Post workers are continuing their strike for a third day, keeping much of this country's mail delivery service at a standstill right before the holiday season. As Sam Sampson tells us, that has many, including charities, worried.
It's the vulnerable people in our neighborhoods that are going to be affected by this.
Rachel Fromm works at the Calgary Dream Center, a nonprofit that houses and treats people with addictions. Without the option to mail out donation reminders, she worries they'll see a big drop in revenue this holiday season.
There's still digital pieces that can go, but nothing performs quite like direct mail and fundraising.
Ottawa says a special mediator is supporting negotiations, but Western University law professor Michael Link doubts that will help, especially since the union wants virtually double what Canada Post is offering for wages.
I can't see where a mediator is going to bring that huge gap close enough to be able to get a negotiated collective agreement.
Despite the lack of movement, all parties remain at the table. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Edmonton.
A BC student nurse was attacked by a man with a knife during a shift at Vancouver General Hospital. She received non-life-threatening injuries, was treated and released. Police arrested a 40-year-old man and then put him back in the Kiev hospital for medical and psychiatric care. Tropical storm Sarah has made landfall in Belize after stalling over Honduras, causing rivers to swell. Forecasters expect heavy rain in Belize, which could cause life-threatening flash flooding and mudslides. And that is your World This Hour. Remember, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. The World This Hour is updated every hour, 7 days a week. For CBC News, I'm Neil Kumar.
I'm Anthony Venestan. You look at weather across Quebec. In Montreal, increasing cloudiness this afternoon, a high of 8. Tonight, mainly cloudy for a low of 3. Quebec City, sunny, becoming a mix of sun and cloud this afternoon for a high of 8 degrees. Partly cloudy tonight for a low of -1. In Sherbrooke, mainly sunny, a high of 5. Tonight, a low of -2. And in the Gaspé, a mix of sun and cloud, a high of 6 degrees. And tonight, a low of 3.
There's a new warning today about the number of Canadians at risk of going hungry, and concerns the situation will only get worse.
Good evening. With grocery prices skyrocketing over the past few years, more and more people are looking for help to stock their pantries.
The majority of Canadians, 51% in fact, say that a family food budget remains, in their words, a challenge.
This is now or never. Your Trevor Deneen, I'm Nikki Chimatili. We don't have time. Food is too expensive.
We're just getting right to it, eh?
We have to, because the cost of food, it feels like every time I'm in the grocery store, something is higher beyond what I even thought was possible.
I agree with you. Most people look forward to the weekends. That's my grocery shopping day.
and I dread it because I don't know how much money I'm gonna have by the end of my shop.
It is so frustrating, and you and I are not the only ones that are angry about it. We swung by a grocery store where there were many shoppers happy to sound off.
I just came to the grocery store. Yeah, every time I go in there, it seems the prices go up. It's just ridiculous. I don't know how people survive. To be honest with you, it's ridiculous. You know, I mean, you pay your rent or you buy groceries. You know, it's not good. I like grapes. I don't buy grapes in there. They find way too expensive. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, most fruit.
I used to love to buy a steak and cook a steak, but I mean, even just for my boyfriend and I, having a steak dinner is just too expensive now.
Certainly, chicken breasts are definitely going up a lot. Cheese, absolutely.
The fighters would feel like I go in and get 20 pounds. You're a baker, it helps.
When I'm buying something that doesn't have a very long shelf life, I kind of second guess it. Like, am I going to actually eat this before it goes bad? And I find I'm just not buying as much stuff like dips and all that kind of stuff because it never got eaten and it's just not worth it.
Sometimes we'll go to the area if we're going to use it right away where it's 50% off.
Kind of shop where the bargains are, but try and buy the good stuff. And also, I believe in a vegetable garden. I like to experiment. This year I grew beets, squash, tomatoes, peppers, that kind of stuff.
I mean, I make a lot of my own food, so trimmings for meat, I'll put them in the freezer. Maybe I didn't eat the carrots in time, so I'm going to put them in a bin too, and I'll make a stock. And then I do things like that. Try to economize. You know, you buy in bulk and you look for sales, and you have to eat.
That gives me stress, Amy. I think if you're able to figure out some tips and tricks to keep your grocery costs down and reasonable, you're one of the lucky ones because there's so many people just finding it harder and harder to feed themselves these days.
Yeah, meanwhile, all the big grocery store chains are seeing record profits year after year. Today on Now or Never, we are going to find out what it is taking for you to get food on your table.
Whether it's a school lunch program, trying to make a little go a long way.
So usually a classroom now has around 25, 30 kids. We have 15 pieces of fruits, 15 pieces of granola bar, and 15 pieces of cheese. It should be 30 pieces of each thing. We just don't have enough funding. And so the kids are forced to choose one or the other.
Or an ebook content creator dedicated to showing the realities of food costs in the north.
Canada has been dealing with this for like decades. My parents were dealing with this, so this is like old news. And now that it's happening to somebody else, it matters, or there's more attention about it. But why not for us?
Or a community potluck that looks to keep people in the neighborhood fed.
It's hard for me to ask for, but lately I've been having to. And it's humiliating, having to go and ask for help when you're trying to provide for your family, and you want to be that provider, and, it's hard.
This is Now or Never.
Gather around the table. Let's figure out what's to eat.
Hello, come on in. Hey, first one here. How's it going?
It is Thursday night in Juliana Romantic's home in East End of Toronto, and the klezmer music is blaring, and people are just starting to arrive, carrying potatoes and cans of lentils.
I'm just back here chopping celery. Yeah, just put your shoes wherever you like.
Tonight is just like any other party. If your parties also include cooking quiche with your friends.
Michelle's on cubing the potatoes. Then Zeddy, you're on. Oh, what are you looking for in the oven?
Just somewhere to put
The potatoes? Oh, yeah. So we're gonna put them in a bowl for now.
Welcome to Juliana's monthly meal prep party. I hear meal prep party, and I have visions of balloons, streamers. What is a meal prep party as you celebrate it? It's not quite like the birthday party you're picturing, but I just have, I don't know, some friends over. We kind of agree on the main dish we're gonna make that night, and then I encourage people to bring an ingredient if they feel like it. Mainly, I just say bring Tupperware because you're gonna have something to take home at the end of the night.
Since last May, Juliana has been inviting friends and friends of friends into her kitchen to make a week's worth of food together, partly as a way to take on the rising cost of food, a subject that comes up a lot. And you know how olive oil has gone up so much in price? I'm shocked. Like I used to fry with olive oil. Now I'm like, oh no, the olive oil is precious. Use it only for special things. I can probably tell my children back in my age, olive oil was $5 on sale. Yeah, 2 months ago.
I would say I'm pretty fortunate in the sense that I find that my rent is pretty affordable and I work enough that I feel like I'm in a decent place financially, but all of my friends are in different places. Like some of them are, really stable. Other people have gone through periods of unemployment, some longer than others. Other people, they work in film and sometimes the payments come late, or it's just a minimum wage just doesn't cut it these days. And when you have greater rental expenses than I do, then yeah, it really adds up.
My name is Millie. I'm pretty stable in my finances, but even for me, I'm starting to look at the price of food, and I'm starting to just be more consider things that I never used to consider. What's the cost of bacon these days? How much butter, can I actually use? Even today, I was just thinking about going to Value Village and buy myself a bread maker so that I can be able to make quality breads that are not $12. I used to love going to farmers markets so much. And now I think farmers markets have become so like overpriced, and they basically were priced out. A lot of people are priced out of it. That's what's changed, is that you're much more price conscious rather than being creative in your cooking experience.
What did we make? We made quiche. What else is here?
Grilled veggies and roasted veggies. Noodles. Did we make something else?
Yeah, the lentil soup with your lentils.
You mentioned that sometimes people bring ingredients if they can, but it sounds like you're largely renting the cost of it.
Well, I think it's mostly pantry staples, or like I'll buy carrots in bulk or onions in bulk, so it's not like that's not gonna kill me. But people definitely brought stuff. What I find, I try to schedule them just before I know in a really overwhelming week. When I have friends and I have the support and I have the excitement, it makes me want to make things that I'm actually going to really enjoy throughout the week, rather than just, okay, how can I put beans and corn and rice through, two different versions of the same meal, and it's more fun.
Yeah, I feel that. I think as someone who lives on their own, it's so easy to just decide, you know what, tonight it's popcorn, and that's all that we're gonna do. So I know for me, sometimes that extra incentive of having someone else who's either relying on me or that I will be hosting, it definitely inspired. Okay, let me get my stuff together a little bit.
Just some people have a more natural propensity for cooking. I just happen to be really, I actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people. I don't naturally find cleaning fun. Some people do. I find that alien. But everyone has a chore that they weirdly are into, and cooking is fine. And I remember, the week my father was dying. It was a terrible week. Obviously, one of the worst weeks of my life. But I remember there was one day where I went to my friend's house, Zeddy's house, and I was like, I think I want to learn how to fry tofu tonight. And I don't, we were in the kitchen, and I learned a new skill, and we learned it together. And that was actually such a respite. It's so simple and so small. And I know that there have been times where vice versa. They've been going through a rough time, and I'll be like, "Guess who's making food? Guess who's coming to your door?" It's I'm bringing dinner. Get ready.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we made broccoli. Guys, we gotta pack up the broccoli to go with the potatoes and the zucchini and the carrots. Oh my god.
My name is throughout my life, I come from a low-income background, and so food has been often really contentious, a difficult thing to kind of navigate. So shout out also to food banks, and it's been scary, but I'm in a more stable place now than I ever have been in my life. So I often am trying to look for ways that I can make hearty things that have enough nutrition while keeping it a little on the simpler side, so that I'm not really down to pennies by the end of the week. There was one time where we made together this Ukrainian pasta with onions and oil. It was very simple. It was just like onions and maybe like a bit of cabbage or something. And that was so good. I made it again the next day and I served it to all my roommates and my neighbors outside.
I didn't know you served it to your neighbors. And you're like, oh, I didn't realize you did this whole thing. Oh, you never told me that.
We were sitting outside on the porch and the neighborhood was around and people seemed hungry and I thought this is the time. I brought it out and then my neighbors had just cooked chickens and then we were all eating chicken and pasta and people were flipping out over this pasta that I made off of your recipe that you had taught me just the day before. They loved it and I still make it. It's a heartwarming kind of dish, you know. It's hearty, it's easy, you know, that kind of way.
I always put sour cream on top too.
Yes. I'm sorry, not forget the sour cream.
Bathurst and college.
I find very
It's very reasonable price, but I think what I'm saying is that inflation's gotten so high.
I think that it's really important now to bolster our communities, people that we are involved with on daily and connect with them. And one of the easiest and best ways to do that is through food. There have been times where I have been able to rely very much on the people around me sharing. Um, Throughout my life, the times that I have survived at points has been because I've had friends, people around me who have made me meals, and it's changed everything for me.
We all tried the quiche. How do we feel about the quiche?
It's amazing.
I'm so happy.
I'm doing some of that for myself.
Yeah, I'll send you the recipe straight up. I just googled quiche. How are these coconut parties? Like, what difference are they making for you? I feel like the benefit is mainly like that I feel like I'm useful. I know that sounds silly, but it is something really nice when someone turns to you and goes, yeah, this meant something to me, and people get different things out of it.
Yeah. You know, on this particular episode, we're talking with people about what it's taking to put food on the table. And you're reminding me that when putting food on the table becomes a challenge, it's more than just the nutrition of it that you lose out. It's that potential for all those moments of connection. It's hard to reach out and create some of these moments when you're struggling to even feed yourself. And so cool thing that you are creating and offering your community. I love it. Thanks.
Well, actually, one of my closest friends texted me today and was like, people talk about third places, this idea of going somewhere that's not your house, not work, but a third place where you socialize, and that kind of is less and less affordable these days. Going to the bar isn't necessarily going to be good for your wallet. So, my friend actually said, you kind of built a third place. I'm gonna grab some broccoli, and yeah, we all have like dinner for tomorrow and the day after next. At least, heck yeah. The kitchen is a mess, but oh, that quiche looks so pretty. I'm so proud of it.
For it.
Get good.
Oh,
that heavy. You just have to throw your own meal prep party.
Well, speaking of parties, coming up in a couple weeks on Now or Never, we're going to be doing a whole show on unusual anniversaries, unique moments we decide to celebrate. And I say unique because we're not looking for birthdays or wedding anniversaries. Those are the common ones. We want the weird ones. Maybe it's a friend anniversary, or maybe you celebrate a band's anniversary year after year after year in some special way. Or maybe it's something so offbeat that it makes you smile just thinking about it. Whatever it may be, we want you to share it with us. Send an email to nowornever@cbc.ca, and who knows, you may end up part of the show. The weirder the better. On Southern Avenue, the north end of Quebec, a group of people are ringing a bell to announce that a community potluck and meeting is about to start.
It's the ham and peas pierogi casserole. Oh, yeah, working all day. Working all day. Yeah.
Those who can afford to bring enough food to share, and they depend on donations to feed everyone. Because this is one of the poorest areas of the city. But there's also a fierce love and pride of the place.
We are not low class. We're not middle class. We are high class. We are the classiest. Well, I want just something with caffeine on.
As the conversation gets going around the table, it turns to food security, and it becomes very clear how much people here depend on the services that line this street, and depend on Harvest Manitoba, the nonprofit organization that supplies food banks in the province.
Food, which so hardly know people have. Because price food is absurd, terrible. We're all suffering. We should have a bunch of chickens going around here and turkeys.
People struggle for food. We try our best around the neighborhood, but it's in high demand. My name is Flair, and I'm a volunteer at the Indigenous Panel Center for about 8 years. And we serve up to about 50 people every Monday. It's all different families. A family from here once a month at one that hamper they thought did not last the 1 month. And people come, they walk, and they grab, and they're thankful. Especially when there's nice treats, sometimes some monthly donuts, that's see the smile on these people's faces to have a little bit of a treat. My family, I'm married with, we have one 14-year-old daughter. My wife and daughter are well, so I can't work. So I volunteer here, and I feel useful that way, and I'm still able to contribute to the family through the food I get and by doing other things. So it's good, and I get support here, and that's I think what helps families is center like this and get bell towers supporting families. That's a good part about this community. Help each other out.
It's delicious. I have some corn chowder, some tuna macaroni salad, a pierogi casserole, and some homemade cookies. When times are tough, yeah, we just come to these resources to get food. Or on Tuesdays and Fridays, it's the Elizabeth Fry Society, and then here is Wednesdays, I believe. And then every day you can go to the North End Women's Center and grab like a bag lunch or something. They always have snacks and stuff there. I get schedules, like little calendars that help us to remember what days for when. Groceries are expensive. It seems like the stuff that's unhealthy is expensive, and then the stuff that's healthy that you're supposed to be feeding your kids and yourself is just through the roof. Like it's not affordable anymore. After COVID, you thought that the prices of everything would drop back down, but it just seems to keep going up and up and up and up, and nothing's changing. And they said that things would change and that the prices of food would lower, but it's not. And it's just a waiting game, There's 7-Eleven's closing right now because people are stealing from it all the time. Just today, I took my wife there to go get some nachos, and 2 middle schoolers ran out with their Slurpees and chips and everything. Didn't even try to pay or anything. They just ran right out all the time now as people, and the staff there can't stop them because it'll impact their safety and everything, you know. Honestly, to be honest, I did that in the past during COVID, and that's because I was living on the streets, and that's the only way that I could survive because there were all the resources closed down. There was nothing. There was nowhere to eat. There was nowhere to sleep. There was nowhere to shower. Everything closed down. So the only thing you could do was steal to provide. It's hard for me to ask for help, but lately I've been having to, and it's just it's kind of it's humiliating, you know, having to go and ask for help when you're trying to provide for your family, you know, and you want to be that provider, and you know, it's hard. It's really hard. But this community is great because nobody judges you. Everybody's there to help. Everybody's willing to help. They'll give you the clothes off their back if they can. Like, it's great. So I'm glad to be in the North End. You don't find this sense of belonging anywhere else.
There's like 4 people who live in my household, and we just went to harvest and picked a bunch of really edible food out of their garbage bin. A lot of the times it's because it's just past its date, and it's like a lot of it's like sugary foods and prepackaged stuff, and a lot of that has shelf life that's ridiculous. No, we shouldn't have to eat out of the garbage. We do buy groceries and stuff, but getting food from harvest to dumpster helps a lot. They should be offering it to people who need it and just say at your own risk, we're not liable if you get sick off any of this. I think that grocery stores should be getting fined for throwing an certain amounts of food down without offering it to community members, people who can use it, or at least trying to discount it faster and sooner before it actually starts to go bad, not after it's already starting to go bad.
Mostly it's worrying. Mind going and